Sheets of rain seen falling in Massachusetts, pushed around by strong winds. Severe weather hit the Northeast today, with 13 million people under thunderstorm alerts. It comes as people in the South are still facing a flooding threat. Rob Marciano is tracking the storm. An in-depth look at the affidavit supporting the search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. The heavily redacted affidavit includes details on how many confidential, secret, and top-secret documents had previously been removed from the estate and gives a timeline of the investigation. A legal battle brewing between two major pharmaceutical companies. Moderna is suing Pfizer, claiming it infringed on Moderna's patents to create its COVID vaccine. A warning from the Fed chair. Jerome Powell signals further rate increases, saying it will bring pain to some households and businesses. But he's also hinting at positive news on inflation. A woman says doctors told her the fetus she's carrying has no skull and said she should terminate the pregnancy. But she says she was told an abortion ban in her state prevents them from performing the procedure.
Basically, they said I had to carry my baby to bury my baby.
The plan she now has for her pregnancy and the legal action she's taking. Growing fears of a nuclear disaster at Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Speaking exclusively to ABC News, the head of Ukraine's nuclear agency reveals how close the plant came to catastrophe and how it could happen again. An uphill battle. Tired of battling with insurance companies, people with gender dysphoria are turning to GoFundMe accounts to pay for the care they feel is necessary.
You almost feel trapped in your body and stuck with that. And I think a lot of people feel like it's so suffocating that they can't live anymore.
In the first new track since 2016 and since the end of her controversial conservatorship, Britney Spears teams up with Elton John for a dance beat duet. The new spin they're taking on two of his classic songs. Good evening. I'm Mona Kosarabdi in for Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us tonight. We begin tonight with the major new details we are learning after the DOJ released a redacted version of the affidavit the FBI used to justify that unprecedented search of the home of a former president. The redacted affidavit, 38 pages in all, about half of those pages blacked out. And in a companion document, the DOJ explains that some of those redactions aim to protect, quote, a significant number of civilian witnesses from possible retaliation or intimidation. The affidavit also clearly laying out the FBI's investigation, at least at the time it was filed, was active and ongoing and far from over. The document says prosecutors have identified possible criminal targets but are looking for more. All this new information is fueling major new questions tonight. What national security systems may be compromised? Were any human sources overseas exposed? And who may have seen those highly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago? And are any still missing? So much to go through tonight. And Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl leads us off.
Today, we are getting a glimpse of some of the evidence that convinced a federal judge that a search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home would reveal evidence crimes had been committed. The Justice Department's affidavit is heavily redacted. Roughly half of the 38 pages are blacked out, but there is significant new information. The document reveals that well before the search, Trump had already been found to have taken highly classified information, including some from clandestine human sources. That is, secrets obtained from foreign agents and spies. That's what authorities had found in the 15 boxes of material Trump had turned over to the National Archives back in January, well before the search of Mar-a-Lago, material the archives had been trying to get for months. Those 15 boxes, the affidavit reveals, included 184 documents marked classified, including 67 marked confidential, 92 marked secret, and 25 marked top secret. The affidavit described a jumble of newspapers, magazines, photos, miscellaneous printouts, notes, personal and presidential records, and, quote, a lot of classified records. Authorities were concerned that highly classified records were unfolded, intermixed with other records, and otherwise improperly identified. Trump's team handed over still more documents in June. But the affidavit said, quote, there is probable cause to believe that documents containing classified NDI, that is, national defense information, remained at Mar-a-Lago. It's unclear what that national defense information was or how investigators knew it was at Trump's home. The next 7 paragraphs of the affidavit are entirely blacked out. DOJ contends the heavy redactions were necessary, quote, to protect the safety and privacy of a significant number of civilian witnesses and to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation. DOJ argued probable cause exists to believe that evidence, contraband, fruits of crime, or other items illegally possessed would be found at Mar-a-Lago. The judge agreed, granting the search warrant, which then turned up more than 20 additional boxes of records, some of the material highly classified.
John Carl joins us from Washington. John, how is former President Trump responding today to the release of that affidavit?
Mona, we've seen several statements come out from the former president, predictably calling the investigation a witch hunt, insisting that he has done nothing wrong, attacking the DOJ and the FBI. But privately, people close to Donald Trump are genuinely concerned about the legal jeopardy he faces. In fact, they have been urging him for some time to bring in a new legal team, a heavy-hitting criminal defense team as he faces these legal challenges. But here's the situation. I am told that several attorneys who have been reached out to by the Trump team have declined to take on the case. They simply don't want to work for Trump on this case. And in fact, in at least one case that I know of, a prominent, high-profile criminal defense attorney received the call and declined to even call back. So some concern, when you hear from Donald Trump, it's a lot of bravado, a lot of saying that he is the victim here. Some of his political advisors are saying this is only helping build his support, but there is genuine concern on the part of several people close to Trump that he faces serious legal jeopardy.
All right, John Carl, thank you. Joining us now is Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas. Pierre, what jumped out to you from that redacted affidavit?
Well, prosecutors made clear that they already have potential criminal targets, but note that they're looking for more. Quote, the FBI has not yet identified all potential criminal confederates, nor located all the evidence related to the investigation. And there's concern that those super secret, highly classified documents may have been taken to locations not just Mar-a-Lago. The affidavit plainly states that there's an effort underway to figure out if anyone took documents while they were stored at the resort for more than a year, Mona.
And Pierre, John Carl noted earlier that some of this highly classified information came from, quote, clandestine human sources. Why is that of particular concern?
Well, this is the most sensitive intelligence that we gather. Information from spies, electronic eavesdropping, secrets from allies. This is the kind of information that we do not want anyone else to know that we have, and we must protect those sources and methods, Mona.
So from what we've learned today, should we expect indictments anytime soon?
Well, that's hard to say. Based on what we can see from this affidavit, we're weeks, if not months, of more investigation that will be completed.
All right, Pierre Thomas, thank you. Let's bring in now former federal prosecutor Mary McCord, who worked in the DOJ's National Security Division. She was acting assistant attorney general there until 2017 to dig into some of the details here. First, Mary, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Let's get right into this. Paragraph 25, the affidavit details a letter from the National Archives to Congress about the documents and a statement from a PAC supporting Mr. Trump the same day. What's the Justice Department trying to lay out here?
Well, unfortunately, the very next paragraph is redacted, so we don't know where they're going. But I found it interesting that they wanted to highlight essentially Trump on the very day he received this letter from the archives, not that he received it, that it went to Congress, saying that there was classified information in those 15 boxes. He found it necessary for his own interest to put out a statement saying they found nothing. We gave this all over to them. And it seems to me like that is in its own is certainly not any obstruction of an investigation, but it's definitely evidence of his mindset to, again, twist the narrative like he has been doing for so many years now and just simply put out misinformation. It's quite clear there was classified information in those 15 boxes, and he basically is trying to deny that. So I think it gives us a little bit of a window into his own mindset, his own intent, and I assume that the things that follow in the redacted paragraphs will kind of expand upon that with other instances that actually get into the probable cause of obstruction of an investigation.
And another section presents the judge with the argument from Mr. Trump's team that he had the power to declassify documents and names one person who says the former president had done so. Why is this important?
So, you know, ever since the search warrant was executed, we've heard a lot of statements from Trump and from his surrogates, including Kash Patel, the former aide who is quoted in the unredacted portion of the affidavit, trying to make the claim that Trump, while president, had the power to declassify anything he wanted to, and that he had a standing order of declassification of anything that he were to take to his residence or to take with him to read, and that this somehow would excuse and make it impossible to be prosecuted for any sort of mishandling of classified information. And what those two paragraphs show is that that argument was presented in short form, but presented to the judge. He had the power to declassify, and then Kash Patel saying he had declassified it. Notably, the attorney, in the letter the attorney wrote, didn't say he had declassified it, didn't say anything about a standing order of declassification, but Kash Patel said he had, and the judge had that in front of him and still signed the search warrant authorizing the seizure of classified, authorizing the search and seizure of classified information. And I think it's, there's also a footnote later in the unredacted footnote that explains that classified information is not what's critical for purposes of the statute 793E that is mentioned as one of the possible crimes for which there's probable cause. And that talks about national defense information, which is certainly overlapping with, but not exactly identical to classified information. So it would not have to be classified to qualify as national defense information. Now, having said that, they usually overlap quite significantly.
And Mary, the affidavit goes into a fair amount of detail about the handling of these sensitive documents. Take us through that and why it is potentially significant in the criminal investigation.
Well, it's significant to the criminal investigation because there are statutes such as 793E, which is one of the statutes denominated in this search warrant and the search warrant affidavit, because there's extensive protection of our classified information, protection of information that could cause, at the highest level, extraordinarily grave damage to our national security. And at every level of classification, it would cause some damage, right? And so they want to know where it's stored. Was it stored improperly? Who had access to it? Was it stored in areas where unauthorized people may have had access to it? And who was responsible for putting it there and with what knowledge? So part of it is to figure out from the criminal perspective who is culpable for this mishandling, and certainly culpable after they acknowledge that that's not the way this kind of information can be handled. But I think secondarily, it's just of immense interest to the government to retrieve documents that are at such high levels of classification and that are not being properly secured, and particularly that are in a place that we know is open to visitors and guests, including foreign visitors and guests. So there's both the criminal investigation interest, which is of course what's driving this affidavit in support of a search warrant, but there's also just the national security interest in making sure these documents are retrieved and that there's a full investigation into who may have had access to them, who may have seen them, who the information may have been transmitted to. In fact, when you look at the actual search warrant that was released a week ago, you'll see that one of the things that they're authorized to seize and search was sort of information or communications about any transmission of the classified information.
And lastly, from what both the Justice Department and the judge said about the necessary redactions, where would you say the investigation stands, and is there more to come?
Well, it's clear, and I think Pierre mentioned this, that this is ongoing. There are still individuals they're looking to ascertain who may also have criminal culpability. They are still talking to witnesses, and there's a real concern expressed in this affidavit, but also in the government's motion for justifying its redactions, which was accepted by the judge. There's concerns about witness intimidation, witness tampering, and all of the kind of things that would be additional examples of obstruction. In fact, the government's motion for its redaction says that essentially if investigative steps were revealed and not redacted, that would be a roadmap for further obstruction, or not further, but for a potential obstruction of the investigation. So I think we know it's ongoing. I don't think they would have taken this step if they hadn't already obtained significant evidence of these crimes, but that doesn't mean they're ready to indict. And I agree that it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be it will never happen.
All right, former federal prosecutor Mary McCord, we thank you.
Thank you.
Now to the legal battle between Moderna and Pfizer, the two biggest names in COVID vaccines. Moderna is suing Pfizer and its German partner, accusing them of copying the mRNA technology behind the vaccines. Pfizer denies the claim and says it will vigorously defend against those allegations. Here's ABC's Ariel Reshef.
Tonight, Moderna suing vaccine giant Pfizer and BioNTech, accusing its rival of violating patents on groundbreaking mRNA technology used in its COVID shots. The biotech startup saying, "We believe that Pfizer and BioNTech unlawfully copied Moderna's inventions, and they have continued to use them without permission." Pfizer says it was surprised by the lawsuit, adding its own vaccine was based on BioNTech's proprietary mRNA technology. "We remain confident in our intellectual property supporting the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and will vigorously defend against the allegations of the lawsuit."
Some are arguing at least in an emergency situation, we need to at least temporarily waive patent rights to get more shots in arms.
But Moderna is not demanding any halt in the sales of Pfizer vaccines. Last year, Moderna and Pfizer reported $54 billion in COVID vaccine sales combined. Pfizer selling twice what Moderna did, the highest one-year total for a pharmaceutical product in history. And the stakes are high. mRNA technology is being used to develop drugs for everything from HIV to autoimmune and cardiovascular diseases to cancer.
Ariel, thank you. Turning to the economy and your money, Federal Reserve Chief Jerome Powell delivered a speech today about inflation, sending the markets into a tailspin. The Dow fell more than 1,000 points, 3%. Chief ABC economics correspondent Rebecca Jarvis joins us now. Rebecca, what message did Chairman Powell send?
Mona, the message is you can't fight this historic inflation we're facing without the U.S. economy facing some pain. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell today signaling there are more rate hikes ahead, including next month. Even though gas prices are down more than $1 from their mid-June highs, other areas of the economy like groceries and rents continue to climb. And in real terms, what these rate hikes mean for you is that the cost of borrowing gets more expensive. Everything from new car loans to mortgages to your credit cards. Mona?
So, Rebecca, how long will it take for Americans to see inflation slow and eventually go back down?
It's going to take a while, and that is the message. No one has a crystal ball and can see fully the future, but what the Fed is signaling here is that prices will remain elevated. Even though they may have peaked at this point, they will continue to stay high for some time, and so far, wages haven't caught up. Mona?
Rebecca Jarvis, thank you. Now to the harsh reality of one pregnant Louisiana woman in a post-Roe v. Wade world. The mother of 3 was told her baby won't make it and she should terminate the pregnancy. But she says she was told her state's ban won't allow it. Now she's seeking a way forward. Here's ABC's Mireya Villarreal.
Tonight, a Louisiana mother of 3 sharing her struggle to end a non-viable pregnancy, complicated by the lingering battle over abortion in this country. Doctors told her her baby would not develop a skull and could not survive.
Basically, they said I had to carry my baby to bury my baby. They seemed confused about the law.
Nancy Davis says she was denied an abortion because providers worried they would violate Louisiana's trigger ban on abortion and face legal consequences. Adding to the confusion, conservative Louisiana legislators putting out a statement after hearing her story, saying Davis is within the exception that allows for abortion if the mother is carrying a child that cannot survive outside the womb.
Until you're actually in this situation and going through it, you don't understand how complex it is.
So far, 15 states have ceased nearly all abortion services since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June. But the Biden administration with a small victory this week, a federal judge granting a preliminary injunction blocking parts of Idaho's near-total ban on abortions. Today, on Women's Equality Day, President Biden calling on women to make their voices heard on Election Day.
You're going to hear women roar on this issue, and it's going to be consequential.
Mireya Villarreal joins us now. Mireya, what is next for Nancy Davis?
Hey, Mona, so she is 14 weeks pregnant, and she is now planning to go out of state to get this abortion done. We spoke with her attorney, Ben Crump, and he says while she may be the first in Louisiana to experience this, he does not think she will be the last. Mona?
Mireya, thank you. The threat of a nuclear disaster grows in Ukraine tonight. The head of the country's nuclear agency is sounding the alarm as fires burn near Europe's largest nuclear plant. That official tells ABC's Britt Clement in an exclusive interview just how close the plant is to catastrophe.
Tonight, the head of Ukraine's nuclear agency sending an urgent warning as fighting continues near Europe's largest nuclear power plant.
This is one step from radiation emergency, actually.
The Zaporizhzhia plant temporarily going offline on Thursday for the first time in its history after officials say a transmission line caught fire. Satellite images showing smoke rising from the facility. Ukrainian officials say they used backup diesel generators to power the plant and avert a radiation disaster potentially just 90 minutes away.
Yeah, for diesel generators, if any of the diesels come out of their working mode, then you just have emergency situation with melting of active core within an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
All right.
Residents living near the plant terrified. This woman saying, I am scared. Everyone is scared. We don't know what will happen next. What is waiting for us every minute, every second? And the head of the UN nuclear watchdog tonight saying those inspections of the plant could be taking place as soon as next week. Mona?
Tonight, we are tracking the potential for severe storms across the East Coast and more flooding in the South, and we are closely watching the tropics. Senior meteorologist Rob Marciano is tracking it all for us. Hey there, Rob.
Hi, Mona. It's been a rough day for a lot of folks here in the Northeast. We had winds to 68 miles an hour in Rye, New Hampshire, just south of Portsmouth. Trees down all over the place in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Hartford, Connecticut. Still have a couple of hours left for these storms to wind down. You see on the radar, eastern New England still seeing some rough stuff as that one cell heads into Providence. That front will push through tonight. It'll be a little cooler, a little drier tomorrow, certainly more quiet. Meanwhile, in the south, where that flooding's been occurring all week long, flash flood watch remains up. We can't get rid of these showers that kind of pop on and off, and the ground is saturated, and we've got these rivers that, in some cases, like the Pearl River, expected to remain in flood stage through at least the weekend. You mentioned the tropics. We've got two areas of concern here as we kind of head into the prime time of hurricane season. I know the last 2 months have been slow, but things are now starting to heat up. 30% chance of development there in the central Atlantic, and only a 20% chance of in the central Caribbean, but that one is very close, and some of our computer models are picking it up and developing it when it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. So bears watching, to say the least. Mona?
All right, we'll continue monitoring the situation. Thank you, Rob.
You got it.
3 companies have agreed to pay nearly $13 million in federal fines in response to an oil spill last October off the coast of Los Angeles. The leak from the San Pedro pipeline off the coast of Huntington Beach spilled about 25,000 gallons of crude oil into the water. Amplify Energy Corp and 2 of its subsidiaries today pleaded guilty to the Federal Clean Water Act. As part of the plea, they have agreed to pay a $7 million fine and nearly $6 million for the cleanup. It's all systems go right now ahead of a big NASA test launch in its quest to go back to the moon. The Artemis rocket is ready for liftoff at Cape Canaveral, Florida. And as we showed you last night, Monday's test will be a major first step in sending astronauts back to the lunar surface. Transportation correspondent Gio Benitez joins us now. Gio, talk us through the particulars of the launch on Monday and the scope of this mission.
Oh, and it is a big scope, Mona. This is an incredible launch. This will be the most powerful rocket to launch, and this will actually be the first time that we actually test it out. Let me go ahead and show you these fast facts right now so you can just get to understanding what it is that's going to happen. So the launch day, Monday, that launch window opens up at 8:33 a.m. Eastern. That goes all the way to 10:33. So we're talking about 2 hours. The entire mission duration, though, is 42 days long. So it is a long mission, and it's going to take it 3 days, this spaceship, 3 days to get to the moon. Now, the closest distance to the moon, it's going to get about 60 miles away from it. So very, very close. It's going to go into that lunar orbit. So basically, it's going to fly around the moon. It's not going to land. That whole mission, oh my gosh, 1.3 million miles. And then, of course, it's the return home. That's in October. It's going to splash down in the Pacific Ocean. But listen to this, Mona. That return speed up to 25,000 miles per hour. More than 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit when it comes through. So they're going to be pushing this to the limit. They're going to see what this can take. Remember, there are no astronauts on board. They want to make sure that it's safe.
Definitely. NASA prepares for everything. But what happens if there's inclement weather?
All right, so in that case, they're going to see what happens within that 2-hour window. So they have these 2 hours to play around with. A little different than those SpaceX launches that are an instantaneous window where it has to launch at a certain second, right? In this case, you have some wiggle room to play around with. But if this is scrubbed for whatever reason, we're looking at probably a Friday launch date. They have other days in place, but they need some time. So it's not immediate. It's not like the very next day we're going to try launching again. But Mona, the whole point of this is to establish a moon base so that we could explore deep space.
And Gio, on a lighter note, the Artemis craft is equipped with, of course, all the things it needs to get to and from the moon, but it also has some fun items. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's a little Snoopy in there, so we're going to be looking at that. But one of my favorites is actually the mannequin, and it's because so many fans, right, NASA fans, space geeks like me, they decided to call this mannequin Moonikin, all right? And so Moonikin will be on this spaceship. Remember, no humans on board. Moonikin will be there to test radiation and make sure that everything is okay for those astronauts once they do board that ship.
Thank you for that fun fact. And Gio will be down in Cape Canaveral for that major launch Monday morning. ABC News Live will have full coverage beginning at 8 a.m. And when we come back, a man tries to abduct a child in front of her home. See how she got away. Britney Spears releases her first song in decades, a duet with Elton John. How the collaboration is breathing new life into one of his classic tracks. It's not uncommon to find out an insurance company won't pay for your procedures, but people with gender dysphoria say they have an even tougher time getting coverage. Kana Whitworth takes us inside the battle for some to fund their gender-affirming care.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go. We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7 straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Bring them on. If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
As of today, in a big way, we have inaugurated abcnews.com.
A lot has changed in our world since Peter made that announcement. But what hasn't changed is the commitment to groundbreaking reporting and innovation at abcnews.com. And here's to everything ahead.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis, streaming weeknights.
The fallout. Biden's student loan forgiveness plan under fire. Now, Bernie Sanders pushing for more. The big questions and the real impacts. Plus, Trump's legal battles grow. New details in the raid on Mar-a-Lago. What will happen next? Sunday on ABC's This Week.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
It was an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do you evade capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcast.
The opening of a giant slide got off to a bumpy start in Detroit with rough rides and hard landings like this in Belle Isle Park. It was shut down while state officials helped address the problems. Trips down the slide seemed smoother today when it reopened. Officials had the surface scrubbed and planned to spray water on the slide between rides so that they can control the speed. For those who have health insurance, getting a call from your doctor or the insurance company saying a procedure isn't covered isn't unheard of, but for those suffering from gender dysphoria, the obstacles can prove to be even more challenging. In a mission to get help, many are turning to loved ones, side hustles, and even GoFundMe. Arcana Whitworth has this report on the uphill battle to fund gender-reaffirming care.
I can only remember how much I wanted to be a boy growing up and how deep down I had to bury those feelings because I never felt like anybody would understand.
We're essentially going to dissect out all of the breast tissue. Now, when we say all of the breast tissue, what we mean is probably like 98, 99%. All right, take great care of you, buddy. Yes, sir.
See you on the other side.
All right.
It's the day Chase Riley has been waiting for. After 8 years of hormone replacement and psychological therapy, Chase is getting his breasts removed.
I suppressed these feelings of wanting to be a boy for so long.
Sometimes people are having such a hard time living in their skin that it takes a toll on their mental health. And that's why you believe these surgeries are life-saving.
Yes.
It's not cosmetic.
Yes.
According to a study from the Williams Institute in 2019, it's estimated that nearly 82% of transgender individuals have considered suicide and 40% have attempted it.
You almost feel trapped in your body and stuck with that. And I think a lot of people feel like that's so suffocating that they can't live anymore. I never felt personally like I was supposed to be born a man. I just felt like I was always supposed to become one. Sometimes I see myself and sometimes I see her. I don't really feel like I'm always in control of who I see. And I think this will just be a really big step.
Many seeking these gender-affirming surgeries experience a medical condition called gender dysphoria, a mental stress and discomfort those who identify as a different gender than the one assigned at birth sometimes face. These surgeries can serve as a form of treatment in gender dysphoria.
I was with Courtney, my partner, and she encouraged me to explore my desire for top surgery.
Like many in the trans community, Chase turned to GoFundMe as his breast removal or top surgery was not covered by insurance.
It's very hard for me to ask for help, but that's the best way that a lot of people can think to fund their surgeries.
Gender-affirming surgeries can range anywhere from $2,000 for individual procedures to over $100,000 for more extensive transitions.
I wrote insurance off very early on in my experience.
Individual employers indicate that a small number of employees actually take advantage of related health insurance benefits. Additionally, most insurers and people consider trans-related health care as cosmetic, even though the American Medical Association has classified gender-affirming surgeries as medically necessary. Chase says, for him, it's a matter of life and death.
I paid most out of pocket. Actually, all of my journey has been out of pocket as of now. Fortunately, my partner is fronting me the money.
Lavender. Lavender, come here.
My name is Mia. I'm 30 years old and I identify as a trans woman of color.
We're normal people too. We go through life and we have fun and we have a story to tell. I was put in the hospital for a few weeks because I tried to commit suicide as a 13, 14-year-old because I was being bullied, harassed, and consistently attacked. Not just outside of my home, but in my home as well.
I am pretty far within my transition. I still have a few more things I need to get done.
Mia was able to have her top surgery covered by Medicaid, but is finding different ways to cover the additional out-of-pocket costs.
I've raised at least $30,000 besides my GoFundMe, and that's over a time span of 4 years.
And due to the difficult barriers of getting facial feminization surgery, or FFS, approved by Medicaid in Illinois, Mia forced to travel out of the state to get the procedure.
The costs have been scary. When it comes to FFS, it's your face, so you want something done right and done well by one of the best doctors you can. Insurance don't cover that. So I had to raise $20,000 just for the face itself. It's not easy finding work here in Illinois, being trans.
Leading Mia to start her own business.
I make lip glosses, lip balms, and embroidery, sweaters, totes, shirts. I understand that surgery is a high cost, but like other things that are deemed medically necessary, they should be covered mostly by your insurance company.
And while 24 states and Washington, D.C. prohibit transgender exclusions in health insurance, 10 states have Medicaid policies that specifically exclude trans health coverage. The spokesperson for the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services stated, CMS is aware that certain states have announced that they may issue legislation or rulemaking related to gender-affirming care. CMS will review any such state action. Without insurance companies agreeing with the top medical organizations' findings that these surgeries can be medically necessary, most in the trans community are lost.
For trans people, it's safety, it's security, it's also being happy with what you see in the mirror. This is our one life, our one body.
It's not that they're this trying to become that. They've always been this, what are essentially born with what they see as a birth defect. And all they want to do is fix it and be themselves.
I knew I was a girl, and I reminded myself that I still wanted to be a boy. So I never really wanted to be trans. I just wanted to be a boy.
Our thanks to Kena Whitworth. And still ahead here on Prime, how the Secret Service seized hundreds of millions of dollars from alleged fraudsters who received pandemic loans. And a bald eagle enters a TSA security checkpoint. We'll show you what happens next. Plus, dancing in the desert. Burning Man returns to the Nevada desert for the first time since the start of the pandemic. We look at its impact and tradition by the numbers. But first, our tweet of the day. The Minneapolis St. Paul Airport celebrating National Dog Day by posting a picture of the winner of the TSA's Cutest Canine Contest.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House. Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
America is being poisoned with fentanyl, and we don't even know it.
Just heard my wife screaming. She told me they had just died.
50 to 100 times more potent than morphine.
Keep breathing, come on.
It's poison. It's pure poison.
A few grains of salt worth of fentanyl will kill you.
Just my agency has seized enough to kill the entire country.
ABC News Live presents Poisoned, America's Fentanyl Crisis. The powerful series, streaming free on ABC News Live.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends.
Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom! Now that's how you start your day, people.
Take America's #1 news with you, anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
As of today, in a big way, we have inaugurated abcnews.com.
A lot has changed in our world since Peter made that announcement. But what hasn't changed is the commitment to groundbreaking reporting and innovation at abcnews.com. And here's to everything ahead.
Burning Man returns to the Nevada desert for the first time since COVID-19 lockdowns this weekend. Some are calling it another sign of the return to normalcy. Ironic for a festival known for everything but normalcy. Here's a look at the event and the tradition by the numbers. 80,000 burners, as festival goers call themselves, are expected to descend on 3,000 acres of dry riverbed in Nevada's Black Rock Desert in the coming days. 10 miles of fence will surround Black Rock City, home to 9 days of around-the-clock celebration, fantastical artworks and costumes, and possibly transformation. 19.5% of burners told sociologists they were absolutely transformed by the free-spirited desert experience in a study published this spring. More than 63% reported being somewhat transformed. 400 official art projects and 450 interactive floats will aim to challenge attendees' minds and bind the community this year, but there are 0 trash cans. Everyone must carry out what they carry in. 36 years, that's how long friends old and new have been gathering to celebrate and ignite the Burning Man. It all started in San Francisco with about a dozen friends and an 8-foot-tall effigy. By 1991, the crowd had grown to 250 and the Burning Man to 40 feet. That year, the festival moved to the Nevada desert, and the crowds and the Burning Man himself have continued to grow through the years since. And we still have a ton to get to here on Prime. You may still be winding down from your summer trip, but it's already time to think about your next vacation, how to get the best deals on airfare this fall, and how a teen's life was saved after he went into cardiac arrest during a baseball practice. But first, a look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
With so much at stake in our world right now, we wanted to thank you for your trust and for making ABC News America's #1 news.
And thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
National parks are incredibly safe places, but crime will happen.
I'm a trauma. My wife has fallen. She's in really critical condition.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic accident.
There's still a lot of questions we need to ask.
There were small things that didn't totally add up.
This is 2 lives for Harold that have died now. I was shocked. Something's not right.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
The redacted affidavit used to justify the search at former President Trump's estate was unsealed today.
The 38-page affidavit is heavily redacted. The FBI investigation began after Trump's lawyers handed over 15 boxes of presidential records to the National Archives in January, which agents determined contained 184 pieces of classified material, some marked secret or top secret. Later in the affidavit, the FBI outlines how the agency determined more classified documents were still inside Mar-a-Lago. But those details are almost completely blacked out. The document does show a warning the FBI sent to Trump's lawyers in June, saying Mar-a-Lago was not authorized to house sensitive government materials that could compromise national security. 2 months later, the FBI raided Trump's home, seizing an additional 27 boxes, including 11 sets of classified documents.
The FBI never would have gotten this search warrant approved unless they had an immense amount of information.
The Secret Service now says it has clawed back about $286 million in pandemic loans that never should have gone out. The 15,000 fraudulent loans were approved using fake or stolen employment and personal information through the online bank Green Dot. The money is being returned to the Small Business Administration. Since 2020, the Secret Service has initiated nearly 4,000 investigations and seized nearly $1.5 billion in fraudulently obtained funds.
The chilling moment a little girl fights off an alleged abductor. And for the first time, little Kennedy Nash in her own words.
This guy walked by and he touched me and he pulled me.
How did you get away?
I don't know. He just let go of me because I screamed.
The Ohio family surveillance video capturing it all. You can see Kennedy just steps from her front door, taking out the trash. When the stranger appears, police say he suddenly grabbed her, stepped forward, then tried to drag her. Kennedy letting out a piercing scream.
He wouldn't have let go of her if she wouldn't have pulled and screamed like she did.
Her dad, Ricky, jumping into his car, following the man while on the line with authorities.
I chased him like he still had my kid. Definitely didn't want him to be able to go snatch another kid.
Police arresting 33-year-old Derek McPherson, now charged with abduction and gross sexual imposition.
California says it will phase out gas-powered vehicles. Now more states say they'll do the same.
One day after California air regulators voted to approve the plan to ban the sale of new gas-powered vehicles beginning in 2035.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
All right, yay!
Today, more states are signing on. Massachusetts has a trigger that basically said if California did it, Massachusetts would do it, and there are more. Washington State and Oregon are also on board, saying they will ban gas-powered cars in 2035. Other Democrat-run states are indicating they too will join in. The big car makers have said they're all in on going electric, but that meeting the 2035 goal will be tough.
Vanessa Bryant, Kobe Bryant's widow, plans to donate the proceeds from her lawsuit against LA County to her Mamba and Mambacita Foundation. On Wednesday, a jury awarded Bryant $16 million in damages over the actions of first responders who snapped and shared gruesome photos from the scene of the 2020 helicopter crash. Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gigi, and 7 others were killed.
A not-so-frequent flyer showed up at an airport in North Carolina. That's Clark, a 19-year-old bald eagle. He was flying home with his handler after helping welcome new freshmen at High Point University. The TSA says Clark decided to give his wings a break and fly commercial, hopefully with a row to himself.
And we are tracking several headlines around the world. An airstrike hit the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. Local media showed images of damaged buildings and what appeared to be wounded people lying on the ground being attended by medical personnel. An aid organization confirmed its staff in the area heard an explosion and gunfire. Earlier on Friday, the Ethiopian government urged Tigrayan citizens in a statement to stay away from military and training facilities, saying the government intended to take actions to target the military forces. One person died and 12 were injured after a police raid on an illegal mine in Peru. An injured miner told local media agents shot bullets, pellets, and blew up engines against them. During the protest, a military base was burned down as police agents tried to ease talks with protesters. As a result of the conflict, 8 people were arrested. Pakistan has called on the international community to help as it struggles to cope with the aftermath of torrential rains that have triggered massive floods, killing more than 900 people. Historic monsoon rains and flooding have affected more than 30 million people over the last few weeks. The country's climate change minister called the situation a, quote, climate-induced humanitarian disaster of epic proportions. Now to the highly anticipated collaboration between Britney Spears and Elton John. Hold Me Closer dropped overnight, marking the return of the pop princess. Spears and another cross-generational hit for Sir Elton John. Our Chris Connolly has more.
The eagerly awaited collaboration between Britney Spears and Sir Elton John, Hold Me Closer, shared with the world at last.
Hold me closer.
Britney's vocals seasoning this dance floor-ready reinvention that weaves together a pair of Elton's best-loved songs, including the 1971 track Tiny Dancer. Hold Me Closer has been hinted at all this month, like this snippet from Elton at a restaurant in France. It's words from 75-year-old Elton's lyricist, Bernie Taupin, writing about his then-spouse, are well matched to Britney's voice and persona.
The song Hold Me Closer is actually a mashup of 2 of Elton John's biggest hits, which are The One and Tiny Dancer. I think there's no doubt that this is going to be one of the biggest songs of the year.
It's Britney's first track since 2016, coming just months after she fought her way out of that controversial conservatorship. And the song arrives as the 40-year-old newlywed looks to turn the page on her past, deleting her Instagram account and declaring, I tell myself every day to let go of the hurt bitterness and try to forgive myself and others. I want to be fearless, like when I was younger, and not be so scared and fearful. Elton John has long been a king of cross-generational collaboration, duetting with Dua Lipa on his song Cold Heart, just as he did back in the day with Kiki D. This season, sharing is caring. So Hold Me Closer seeks a slot alongside Beyonce and Madonna's ultra-star-fueled Break My Soul, the Queen's remix.
Just a few nights ago, Billy Joel actually welcomed Olivia Rodrigo on stage for a performance of Uptown Girl. You're definitely seeing that sort of cross-generational collab. that I think is really exciting to see and really bridging the gap between lots of generations.
And sadly, the end of the summer is approaching fast, and for many of us, summer getaways are just a memory. But before you curl up in a ball, we're here to tell you now is probably a good time to start planning a fall or winter trip. Here's ABC's Rena Roy with some tips about how to find good deals on airfare.
After a summer of unexpectedly high airfares due to fuel cost increases and high demand, prices are dropping. And experts say there are good deals to be had, starting with what's called the shoulder season.
Yeah, so shoulder season is this concept of right before summer begins or right after summer ends, when the weather is still great, but the actual number of people traveling really starts to fall off precipitously. So if you do have the flexibility to travel in September, in October, not only are you going to see far fewer tourists on your trip, as a result, you're also going to see far cheaper fares for the places you want to go.
Scott Kays of Scott's Cheap Flights says that the best time to book flights is during what's known as the Goldilocks window.
If you're traveling domestically, about 1 to 3 months in advance is when you're most likely to see cheap flights. If you're traveling internationally, it's about 2 to 8 months in advance is when you tend to see those cheap flights popping up.
If you're thinking about a trip in September or October, popular family destinations like Hawaii and Florida can be good choices since kids are back in school. If you're looking for a little less tourist traffic, think about traveling right after the holidays.
Across the globe, January and February, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, tend to be the least popular months for travel, and thus the months when you're going to find the most deals, the cheapest flights.
And the best week to get great deals on international flights might surprise you.
Many folks don't think of Thanksgiving and cheap flights as going together, mostly because people tend to travel domestically on Thanksgiving. Late November is about as unpopular a time to travel internationally as there could be. And so as a result, you see extraordinarily cheap fares over Thanksgiving week.
And a high school baseball player is starting the school year with a new sense of gratitude. At a baseball practice just a few weeks ago, the incoming junior collapsed, but thankfully his coaches knew what to do and they sprung into action. Reporter Peyton Headley from our partner station KMBC in Kansas City has a story in tonight's Local Lowdown.
It started out as a normal hitting practice.
Hey, finish, strong.
As 17-year-old Davis Dwight was gearing up for the start of fall season with coach Nick Crouch.
He's an incredible human. He's kind of a guy that comes into a room, lights up the room with a smile.
Before the first swing, practice took a turn.
And 2 minutes in the conversation, he just passed out.
Dwight went into cardiac arrest.
Long and the short of it, we couldn't feel a pulse.
Coach and former Royals catcher Mike McFarland and Crouch sprung into action.
I started compressions right away.
What we're trying to help him with for 12 minutes felt like an absolute eternity.
Those 12 minutes saved his life.
You know, other than seeing my children born, it was probably the most emotional day I've ever had.
Dwight spent nearly a week in the hospital, 5 of those days in the ICU. But he's out, and one of his first stops was to thank his coaches.
So I turned the corner and, you know, you see him. You see the face. It was an incredible moment to see him. It was. He looked great. The smile, it lit up my life heavily.
It'll be a while before Dwight is back to practice, but he's just thankful to be alive.
Our thanks to Peyton Headley for that heartwarming story. Now, before we go tonight, the image of the day, we are getting a look at an amazing discovery. A Portuguese man unearthed in his backyard what scientists are now calling the largest dinosaur ever discovered in Europe. The discovery was first made in 2017, but researchers only recently realized how big it was. This massive dinosaur once stood 39 feet tall and was 82 feet long. Just incredible. And that is our show for this hour. Stay with ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you for streaming with us.